This was Barcelona against Elche, winning 3-1 on the night with a scoreline that was flattering on paper but a performance that was far from convincing on the night. The team lacked control, giving up possession in dangerous areas with certain players being guilty of some wayward finishing on the night. Now, hidden inside that win are two crucial lessons that could completely transform the season for Hansi Flick's side. And in this video, I'm going to be revealing it all. So without further ado, let's jump right in. Number 1. The midfield dilemma. And to explain this, I'm going to use these three players and a concept that I like to call the step up. So what is the step up? It's when a player anticipates an opponent's pass and triggers a press, winning the ball back and starting the counter while the opponent is on the back foot, making them unable to recover in time to stop a goal. Now remember I mentioned that we lacked a lot of control on the night. This was because instead of Pedri, we had Marc Casado starting alongside Frenkie de Jong. So essentially, 2 of our 3 midfielders were players that thrive more on chaos than control. Now, how did this play out? Barcelona struggled to dominate possession, opting for a more direct approach rather than patient build-up. No surprise then that Elche actually edged us out in possession by 51-49. But here's the twist. What we lost in control, these two gave us in chaos. And there's no better way to demonstrate this than with Barcelona's second goal on the night. Look at the step up from Fermin. As soon as he spots the slip up from the defender, he triggers the press. Look. And even more importantly, as soon as he picks up that ball, he has the option to lay the pass out to Rashford, who's the natural left winger. But Fermin reads the situation and realizes he is the one with the momentum and the advantage. If he goes out to Rashford, it will take him at least a second to get back in shape to carry on the attack, giving the defender the time he needed to recover. So Fermin continues the run, leaving that defender behind and creating a 3v2. This forces the centre-back to step out of position to try and stop him from getting through on goal. But then it leaves Ferran Torres completely free in the middle and Fermin makes the right call, unselfishly laying the pass across goal for an easy finish. Very different Fermin from the one we saw against Real Madrid when he chose to go for the finish instead of the killer pass. The boy is learning. Now it didn't stop there. This was something we saw all through the night. There was always a player lurking and stepping up into the midfield to break the play, triggering the press and starting the counter-attack because, again, look at the first goal. This time is Balde. Look, the moment he spots the loose pass, what does he do? He steps up again and the press is triggered. Barcelona press forward in numbers. Now, this is the thing about Balde because unlike Gerard Martin, he can drive forward with pace, breaking those defensive lines. Look, as soon as the lines of the defense are broken, it's hard for the opponent to recover their shape. They are exposed and Balde does well to slide the pass across to Lamine Yamal with his wicker foot. But Lamine does ever so well on the first touch to kill the ball and changes direction at the same time. He wrong-foots the defender and opens up space for himself to finish with his favoured left foot into the far left corner. But as you can see, it all begins with the step forward from Balde that triggers the counter, quickly turning defence into attack. So what does this mean for Barcelona? Well, I guess we're finally starting to see some clarity in tactics. When we come up against teams that like to dominate possession and build from the back, we have to go with a disruptive setup that is injecting some energy into the game, creating a chaotic atmosphere and forcing the opponent to give up possession in dangerous areas. That is exactly what we did here. We forced Elche into mistakes, pressed them into giving up possession and punished them when it mattered. It's not the most elegant version of Barcelona, but it's effective. And if you remember, this was the same formula that carried us through some of our toughest fixtures last season. Now here's the problem. Unfortunately, when you play like this, you cannot have Pedri and Frenkie de Jong starting a game together. As painful as it might sound, you have to sacrifice one of them for this system to truly work. Because guys, remember, a team is not about individual brilliance, but more about collective chemistry. And failure to recognize this has been the downfall of many a team. Think back to England in the early 2000s. They had Frank Lampard, Steven Gerrard and Paul Scholes, 3 spectacular midfielders that played for 3 of the biggest clubs in England. But while they were deployed to great effect at club level, they never quite clicked. Every great midfield needs the right balance of skill sets. Think of it as the creator and the destroyer. You need one player creating the chances and dictating the play, and the other willing to do the dirty work. It's what you saw in France with Zidane and Patrick Vieira, Italy with Pirlo and Gattuso, and even Liverpool with Xabi Alonso and Javier Mascherano. But with Pedri and Frenkie on the pitch, you get 2 artists creating, but no one is doing the real dirty work, and that's where Barcelona risk losing balance and edge. The one real exception to this rule was Guardiola's Barcelona with Xavi and Iniesta. But guys, let's be honest, those were two generational talents that were head and shoulders above everyone else, and their brilliance wasn't built on chaos and disruption, but relied more on keeping the ball and suffocating you with possession. With all due respect, Frenkie and Pedri are not Xavi and Iniesta. And maybe they could go on to reach that level one day, but they're just not quite there yet. So when we come up against teams with equally technical and hard-working midfielders, we struggle to dominate possession. This is why one player has to be committed to doing the dirty work. It's why Gavi worked so well with Pedri when they first broke into the first team. Remember last season when Frenkie was injured and Marcos was brought in to fill in for him? He did so brilliantly, and even though he was still young and relatively inexperienced, he gave us that much needed balance and we went on an amazing run of form. This is what we need right now. You've got Pedri or Frenkie de Jong for control, Marcos for chaos, and Fermin or Dani Olmo for penetration. This will also give Frenkie and Pedri some much needed rest, ensuring that they stay fresh for when the big games come. And speaking of big games, here's the next critical change Hansi Flick must make. It's Barcelona's attack. Guys, I'm sure you've all noticed this. I watch Barcelona this season and I can't help but notice that our attack do not play with the same telepathic understanding with which they did last season. Those instinctive runs, the way players found each other without looking, is just missing this season. Now, understand this is largely due to the fact that we haven't had our starting lineup in attack for most of the season due to injuries. It's different players in attack in every game, and that constant chopping and changing kills chemistry because attackers thrive on repetition, knowing what your teammate would do before he even does it. Rashford and Lamine Yamal, for all their individual brilliance, have not been able to establish that kind of chemistry we saw with Rafinha last season. Even Ferran Torres is sometimes just not on the same wavelength as Rashford. They still don't understand each other's styles. They don't anticipate runs, so what you get is a front line that looks talented on paper but disjointed and impotent in execution. This is why we aren't scoring as many goals as we did last season. I mean, by this time last season, Barcelona had already scored 37 goals compared to this season's 28. And I've said this time and time again, Hansi Flick needs to fix the mentality of this team, particularly in attack. They need to play for each other again, because when they play for each other, this is what you get. Simple, selfless and effective. This is the Barcelona DNA and we need to see more of this going forward. Now, Lamine Yamal. We have to talk about Lamine Yamal. I think Lamine has to get back to being the provider and not trying too hard to steal the spotlight. I think what made Lamine so special last season wasn't just his dribbling, but his decision making. People actually said he was better than Messi at that age. And that wasn't just about talent, but the maturity with which he played. He understood how to affect the game by doing the simple things. He wasn't playing for himself, he was playing for the team, and everything just flowed naturally. Now it's just starting to feel like he's chasing individual glory, and so it shows in tiny decisions. Holding onto the ball, taking on too many players, shooting when you should pass. All of this just adds up to a string of subpar performances. Guys, Lamine has not had a single man of the match performance this season for Barcelona. This isn't a season when Fermin, Lopez and Rashford have already had 2 each. And that is because Lamine Yamal is at his best when he's creating for others, because that's when the game opens up for him. Defenders are drawn away by the centre forward, allowing him to then pop up in pockets of spaces, latching onto loose balls and scoring the occasional bangers. That's the version of Lamine Yamal that Barcelona needs right now. Guys, it's like the answers to our problems are staring us right in the face, but we've just refused to see them. It's simple, but not easy. And I know Araujo didn't cover himself in glory for the goal that we conceded, because how are you keeping a player offside on the halfway line when the player himself is in his own half? It's like the whole focus is so much on the high line that we seem to have forgotten how to simply defend. But I'm not going to dwell on the high line because it's like beating a dead horse at this point. I just think the real secret in our system is relentless pressing, selfless teamwork and precision in attack. Summing up to a chaotic but highly effective brand of football. We need to get back to that, but that's only if we can fix these 2 things. But easier said than done. Okay, so you tell me what you think, guys. What does this mean for Barcelona? Could this be the start of a transformation this season, or was it just an easy win that was down to the level of opposition on the night? Well, I suppose we'll only know on Wednesday when we take on Club Brugge in the Champions League. And I will be here to bring you all of the tactical analysis on that one. So make sure you are subscribed to the channel so you catch that when it drops. In the meantime, let me know what you're feeling in the comments and tell me what you thought about this performance. And until next time, guys, see you soon and Visca el Barça.